Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi.
Today I have an interview with Francesco, the lead developer of Mythic, the biggest change to come to Tacticus in the history of the game. We had an hour-long interview and I've distilled it down to the 20 minutes that you're going to listen to today. Let's get to it. Good morning, Francesco. How are you?
Hey, Nandi. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks very much for coming in today and making the time. We're going to be talking about the newest feature that's come to Tacticus. There's a lot that we're going to talk about, but before we get into it, why don't we start by explaining, who you are, your role within Snowprint, and how you've come to be the lead for this process.
My name is Francesco Tosato. I'm the product lead for Tacticus, and I've been at Snowprint for close to 9 years, being part of the Berlin studio. I'm responsible for ultimately what goes into each major patch of the game. And for the past few months, I've led the development of the Mythic feature, which is probably the biggest update to the progression in the game ever. It touches pretty much every aspect of the game and adds some really cool layers to the strategy.
I mean, Mythic is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I guess it's useful for the viewers to know that we are recording this on July 17th. We're going to talk about some stuff, but there's still going to be room for change. And this video ultimately is to give sort of a broad strokes understanding of things.
The feature will go live in mid-August with the 131 patch. Some things will go live as soon as players update to 131, but the Mythic Ascensions will go live on August 20th. On September 1st, there will be a special event to celebrate the release of Mythic.
That leads us to an open question. What is Mythic and why is it coming to the game?
Mythic is a new rarity above Legendary, which is designed to expand unit progression and add new tactical layers to the game and provide new goals for our veteran and experienced players. Our goal with Mythic is to add longevity to units and to the game. We don't want it to be just higher stats and more progression. We've always wanted it to be a meaningful addition to the game, which we think can make the game much more exciting and fresh. With Mythic, we saw the perfect opportunity to add those interesting decisions for our experienced players without adding too much complexity for newcomers. We also know that more progression might feel daunting to players, so we're making existing progression much faster. It will be easier for new players to catch up and also for everybody just to find all the resources they need and upgrade their units faster.
Probably the best place to start the conversation after that is, how does a current player take their existing characters and progress to Mythic?
As soon as a character reaches the last legendary star, so the blue star, there will be a Mythic Journey mission chain that triggers. And this is a new type of mission chain with new tasks, new objectives that are focused on finding the right combination to complete the mission. It's really about mastering the game, mastering the unit, and their abilities. These mission chains will give enough resources to ascend the unit to Mythic. So as soon as you complete the 5 missions in the chain, you get all the shards and orbs that you need to bring the unit to Mythic.
So viewers will be able to see on screen an example of 1 or 2 of the mission chains that we're discussing at the moment. And I guess the idea here is, as you've said, you need to have a good understanding of the character and how the character works, as well as nuances within their kit. But it's also a bit of a stat check. You're not going to be expecting a player that has a bronze level Calgar, for example, to be able to ascend that bronze Calgar to a Mythic Calgar, are you? And I guess we've talked about how Mythic rarity is going to be a rarity above Blue Star. Are we going to see an increase in gear tiers as well? And will the gear tier increase go straight away to new tier 1, or will you go all the way to new tier 3?
Mythic adds progression in all the lanes. There will be 3 promotions in Mythic and 3 new ranks that will be called Adamantine 1, 2, and 3, 15 more XP levels and ability levels. At launch, we will only enable 1 rank and 5 XP levels and 5 ability levels because we want to make sure that all players can progress evenly and fairly and don't feel rushed to max out units immediately. Over time, we will release the additional ranks and levels.
Perfect, thank you. One thing that we haven't talked about yet, but I know is part of Mythic because I've been a part of the testing group, is there's a new thing that you're bringing to the game called Relics. This sounds pretty cool. It's something that we haven't seen in the game before. What are Relics?
Relics are a new type of items usable by Mythic characters, which add a new passive ability to the character. Each character has one specific relic they can equip. Some relics are unique to a certain character. For example, the Phoenix Gem relic can only be equipped by Ethana, while other relics can be used by a few different characters. And we've designed them and assigned them to characters based on each of their individual strengths and the role they take on the battlefield. At launch, we'll go live with 16 relics, and over time we'll add more. Relics will be found in the Rogue Trader, and some of them will be rewarded by the Mythic Journey mission chains. In the future, they will also be found in special events.
And I'm asking because I actually don't know the answer to this. If I upgrade my relic items, say I upgrade it from relic 1 to relic 2 or 3, does that increase the passive ability? Does that make it stronger?
Yes, the stats of the abilities provided by relics go up every time you upgrade the relic.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. The next topic I wanted to talk about was mythic currencies, because one thing that we've already mentioned is that everything's going up, right? So ability levels are going to go up to 65 eventually. We're going to need new shards to level these characters up. And what could you tell us about where we can earn mythic currency?
We're adding a few new currencies to support Mythic. The most important one is Mythic Shards. Mythic Shards will be found in the Mythic Journey mission chains. They will also be found in the Extremis part of campaign events, where currently the last 2 tiers are legendary. We're replacing the last one with a Mythic tier. Also, Blessed Requisitions will give Mythic Shards. If you get shards from Blessed Requisitions for a unit that doesn't need normal shards anymore, they're automatically converted to Mythic Shards. They will also be found in the Rogue Trader, and for Machines of War, we're adding a Mythic tier to Incursion that includes Mythic Shards for them.
It sounds like you guys have a vision for different game modes being the main source of different resources. Is that right? Can you expand on that?
This is something we wanted to do for a long time. As the game grew, as we added more game modes, more events, and more currencies, things have muddled a bit organically, and at the moment you get a bit of everything from everywhere, and it can be hard to find what you need when you need it. Our vision is to make it clearer where you have to go to get resources you need. We are reorganizing the rewards from pretty much all the game modes, and we are improving the daily deals in all the shops. We're adding more slots in the shops to make it easier to find what you need. And one example is that we're removing orbs, the random orb rewards from guild raids, and giving a bunch of guild credits instead to make up for that removal. We're making sure that every day you can find all the orbs in the guild shop instead of having random rewards. So now you will be able to just use the credits to buy what you need. That's an example. Then ability badges will still be available from Onslaught, but we're also adding all of them to the War Shop. Not all of these changes and reorganization will go live with Mythic. We're releasing a lot of them now, and then in the coming months, we'll also be looking at improving the existing game modes like Arena, Onslaught, and Salvage Run based on feedback, and we will continue rationalizing where the resources are dropped and where they can be found.
But it looks like the Rogue Trader shop will be the main place for Mythic Shards. And I guess accessing this shop, as you mentioned, you usually require a character to already be Blue Star, and therefore we need to look at character shards. Will these become more easily farmable or available?
Yes. So in general, we're increasing drop rates of shards and upgrades significantly. For example, the effective drop chances in standard and mirror campaigns will go up by, on average, 20 to 30%. We're also increasing the daily limit of how many times you can win a campaign battle in Elite and Mirror Elite from 3 to 6 per day. We're adding more energy. The daily mission will include 30 energy. We're adding 1 more energy refill per day at 25 blackstone. And we're also increasing the first refill from 50 to 60 energy. We'll make it easier to find shards in the various shops. We're adding more slots, so there will be more units featured in each shop. And we're also increasing how many shards you get from requisitions. We've completely removed the 5 shard drop. On average, you'll find around 30% more shards from requisitions.
Depending on when this video goes live, players might want to start saving their requisitions for after the patch fills up. So I haven't forgotten about relics. They're, to me anyway, the most exciting thing about this new change, because it's going to completely change the dynamic about how these fights go, particularly for players who are in the middle to late stages of the game. Is there a special currency to upgrade them, or how do we get that currency?
Relics have the same exact upgrade costs as Mythic items. They both use coins and a new currency called Mythic Salvage. We know that the balancing around salvage has not been perfect, let's say. So it's really hard to level up items, and we wanted to make sure that with Mythic items and relics, we could control the progression better. It should be cheaper and easier to upgrade items, both legendary and mythic. We're also making a big change to the stats progression. Now, each rarity will start with higher stats than the last level of the previous rarity. And mythic items introduce a new rule. They can only be replaced by a mythic item of a higher level. So if you equip, for example, a mythic item level 1, you can only replace it with a mythic item level 2. We're doing this to address the issue of item swapping. We know that one of the issues in the game economy at the moment is the scarcity of items and salvage, and also the high cost for item upgrades. And this makes it really hard to have items at a high enough level, and it pushes players to keep just a few high-level items and swap them between characters. And some players really enjoy this aspect of the game, but for many others, it mostly feels like something tedious that they have to do to be able to compete at the highest level, rather than something fun. For us, it's important to have mechanics in the game that make the best strategy, also ideally the most fun strategy. And we've received a lot of feedback about the item swapping from the community in the past year or so, and we decided to try a new mechanic with mythic items to create a better experience. Obviously, we realize that no solution is going to be the best solution for everyone, so we're really looking for feedback, and we'll keep iterating on this. And if this works well, we can also consider expanding this mechanic to other rarities, and if it doesn't, we will look at alternatives.
And Francesco, one thing that I had seen, maybe this was a while ago on the Ambassador server, I don't know if this is still part of the plans, but you'd mentioned the cost for ascending legendary weapons was going to get cheaper, and there will be some players in the game that already have, say, legendary 11 or legendary 10 highly upgraded items. Will they get refunds of those resources, or are they sort of tough luck?
Yes, we've reduced all the upgrade costs for legendary items, and we will refund the difference. As soon as players update, they will get an inbox message with the refund, as long as they have legendary items above level 1.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic, which is about scaling. I'm curious about how this scaling will take place. How does an Adamantine 1 character, for example, compare to the old maximum D3 blue star character?
With Mythic, we didn't want to continue the exponential stats growth. We're keeping the current stats until the last diamond rank, but from Mythic, the curve will flatten out. We want stats at the last adamantine rank to be roughly 50% higher compared to a maxed out legendary. And do you want to see a chart?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So on the left side, you see that's just the raw stat progression, but excluding the bonuses you get from rarity and stars. And on the right side, you see the actual stats growth, taking everything into consideration. And you see here at level 50, that's where Mythic starts. And then the curve just becomes much less steep. The red line is the ability stats, and the other lines are the unit stats and the item stats. Abilities will be a bit higher than the character stats for the first few levels, but eventually they will have parity again relative to early levels.
I guess characters are getting stronger. How does this affect other game modes like guild raids, guild war? For example, will we start to see mythic raid bosses?
Yes, we will add a mythic tier to guild raids, starting with one mythic boss. This is actually going live at the end of August. So the season starting August 27th will be the first one that includes a mythic boss. We know that it can be challenging to fight a mythic boss so close to the release of Mythic Ascensions. So we're starting with the easier bosses first. We know that this will mean that guilds will be able to loop fewer times. We're keeping the fact that once you defeat the last boss, you loop again from the first legendary boss. So we're making up for this by increasing the rewards. We're more than tripling the amount of guild credits you get from defeating bosses. And this is both because we're removing orbs and because guilds will loop fewer times. And over time, we will want to add more mythic bosses, but we just want to make sure that guilds have the strength and the power to fight them. And pretty much all game modes will have a mythic tier added. As I mentioned, campaign events will have a mythic tier in Extremis. The character quest will see one more legendary battle added and one more mythic battle. Incursions will have one more mythic tier, and we're also adding more encounters to the legendary release events. Players will be able to get a mythic ascension and a mythic promotion from them.
The next thing I wanted to ask about is machines of war. I know the answer to this, but I think the viewers will want to know how they are affected. Will machines of war get mythic rarity? Will they get relics? How do they factor into this new system?
Machines of War see the other big new tactical addition, Mythic abilities. Machines of War are ascended to Mythic rarity. They instantly unlock a new Mythic ability. It's a third ability that provides mostly buffs to other Mythic units. So it only affects your own Mythic units, or it provides debuffs to enemies, but still related to you having Mythic units. The Mythic abilities don't have any costs, but they have 4 levels. If you promote a Machine of War to the next star, the Mythic ability instantly gets leveled up. We think that Machines of War will become even more interesting, and it will have a big impact on the battlefield.
I think I understand it. Mythic is going to have Mythic 1, Mythic 2, Mythic 3, and Mythic 4. And depending on what category or which rarity your Machine of War is, the battlefield ability, if I can call it that, will be proportionally scaled. So you're incentivized to take your Machines of War up because they have this static effect that applies to the battlefield, but only applies if you have Mythic units. So the big topic that I think a lot of people will be curious about is about the game economy and how things change. And I know there's a lot of moving parts. For newer or casual players, this probably doesn't make too much of a difference. In fact, I was thinking it might actually make things easier for them because now all of a sudden a newer player gets far more resources. So they're progressing through their initial campaigns more quickly, they're unlocking characters more quickly. But I guess it's for the middle game and the veteran players that they want to know how long things are going to take and how it's going to impact their character progression. Can you tell us anything about that?
We want the added progression to feel achievable. Our intention is to make Mythic require a similar effort to what Legendary currently takes. For example, the 15 ability levels in Mythic should take about the same time as the 15 ability levels in Legendary currently take. We're also making it much easier to progress from 0 to max Legendary in many ways. We're taking steps to make it easier to get all the resources. We're lowering some prices. We're increasing drop chances significantly. And we're making it easier to find resources in the shops. It's hard to give an exact number on how much faster the progress will get. But overall, we believe that going from 0 to Adamantine 3 will take a little bit more effort than it currently takes to go from 0 to Diamond 3, but it will not be dramatically higher. This is our intention, and we know that we'll probably not hit the perfect spot on all the progression lanes. So promotions, abilities, ranks, items, and so on. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's hard sometimes to predict how long things will take to upgrade. So this will be a first iteration, and we're really looking forward to getting the feedback from players so we can adjust the balancing in the coming months.
Even when I was thinking about it, the nuances of an economy rework is going to be different for different players. I guess, if you had, say, a player who's in a top 20 guild, for example, they're going to get far more guild credits from just looping through bosses versus somebody else who's maybe getting their resource sort of allotment because they're a heavy spender, but in a far lower guild.
We want to make it easier, both for high-level players and for new players. We want to be careful with some changes and then see what impact they have and potentially, double down on them later on. But you made the example of guild credits, and I think that's interesting because we have a bit of a problem currently with guild rates because the top guilds get many more rewards than everybody else, so they get even stronger, and it's harder for everybody else to catch up. So with 131 update, we're actually increasing the guild credits rewards for low-level guilds more than for the high-level guilds. Nobody should miss out on anything. It should be better, but it's even better for low-level players and low-level guilds, just to make sure that they can catch up more easily.
The next topic is probably the special event, which I actually don't know that much about coming into this. You've mentioned there's going to be a special Mythic event on September 1st. What is that, and how should players prepare for that?
We put a lot of work and thought and love into this update, and we believe that it's a great addition to the game. So we wanted to make sure to properly celebrate its release, and this update is partly about that. But it's also about wanting to help players get their units up to Mythic as quickly as possible so they can start enjoying and experiment with all the new additions, like the Mythic abilities, Relics, and all the new strategies. The event itself is similar to the survival event, but it doesn't have survival. The Mythic Celebration event is all about letting players choose their own rewards. Every day there will be many different rewards that can be claimed, offering pretty much eventually all the resources and shards in the game throughout the 2 weeks in which the event runs. The rewards depend on the state of your own collection on that day. So for example, if you have a unit already at Blue Star or Mythic, you'll mostly find Mythic and Legendary resources, and you'll also be able to claim Mythic shards for that unit. Otherwise, you can find the regular shards. It's all about choice and freedom and being able to get the resources that you need and you want.
Is this just going to be a one-time event on September 1st, or will it kind of roll around every patch?
It's going to be a one-time event that lasts for 2 weeks.
Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing that and testing it in due course. Francesco, I think those are the questions that I'd come to the table prepared to ask. I guess I want to reiterate to viewers that this is very early information. There's still time for things to change. And as you've said in the video, you guys are open to making more changes down the line, depending on how things play out in reality. I'll probably end up doing a video myself at some point, just going over those finalized changes and numbers. But I wanted to thank you for the time. Is there anything else you want to say to the players before we sign off?
Yes, we are really excited about Mythic because it adds so much to the game, especially in terms of new abilities and strategies and metagame. I know that such a big change can be scary, both for the players and, to be honest, also for us at Snowprint. We want to get it right, and we really have the best intentions to make this a great experience for all players. We know that there will be some hiccups initially, so please hit us with your feedback so we can keep improving Mythic and the progression and the game overall. Obviously, our work doesn't end here. We're already working actually on addressing some other long-standing issues with our existing game modes in the next few months. So I want to thank all the players for giving us really a lot of great input over the years and for being part of this amazing community. And big thanks to you, Nandi, for this interview and for all the content you produce. We are really big fans of your channel here in the Tacticus team. To everybody, have fun with all the Mythic additions. Thank you.
Okay, let me know your thoughts on Mythic in the comments, and if you'd like me to do more of these sorts of interviews with Snowprint in the future. Thanks, folks. Bye for now.